Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Chilltown Hoops. I'm your host, Jermaine. The youngsters call me OG. My friends call me J-Dub. Let's get to it. So, I'm looking at this Laker team, and I'm thinking about how disappointed I am in this entire season. Not them not winning the NBA championship, and not them not making the play. Just the entire season, how disappointed I am in this group. On paper, they looked like a team, and I had them at minimum in the Western Conference Championship. At minimum, I had them in the Western Conference Championship because even though they were a team of age, they still were. I thought that they still were good enough where you wouldn't have to do as much. You wouldn't have to do as much. You wouldn't have to do as much. So James, you won't have to do as much for Carmelo Anthony because you're still good enough to make his job less difficult. Anthony Davis is going to make your job less difficult. He's healthy. He's one of the better one of the better four men in the game. Not only is he one of the better four men in the game, he's going to take the mantle from you to now be the new leader of the Lakers. But instead, this unit ends up going the other way. Because there's all sorts of injuries, there's all sorts of chemistry issues, there's all sorts of coaching mishaps. The entire season, they were a bad rebounding team. They were a bad defensive team. They had rotation issues. And these are the things that weren't fixed. Not only were they not fixed, these were things that we kept talking about right from the beginning. What is the rotation here? Who are we going with? Why aren't you good enough in transition? Well, we're not good enough in transition defensively because we're old. Well, we're not that old, right? Russell Westbrook is still very athletic. None got hurt. Ellington basically played himself out of the lineup. I'm not understanding why, but he did. Kent Bazemore, one of the better D&3 guys who was in the league, he played himself out of the lineup. LeBron James, who his defense has declined, and I was trying to make sense of why this is continuing. Well, it's continuing because this unit isn't motivated, and I think a lot of that had to do with coaching. I think a lot of that had to do with Frank Vogel, with his defensive philosophy. Ironically, even though he's a defensive guy, it just didn't seem like it was working defensively with him in particular. I didn't understand that from him. When I'm looking at a coach who, when he was in Indiana and when he was in Orlando, they had one of the better defensive teams in the game. But this unit here with an old Dwight Howard, who I think he retires after this season. I don't think he's viable for anybody else after this season. I doubt very seriously that he'll play after this season because I don't think he can help anybody realistically. DeAndre Jordan, who doesn't look bad for the Philadelphia 76ers. Doesn't look bad for them at all. He wasn't a bright spot on the Los Angeles Lakers at all. Russell Westbrook, which I've seen plenty of times, his athleticism is still there. Why wasn't he better defensively? I still haven't gotten to the bottom of that. I could say that I was surprised about Anthony Davis and how he played. When he was in the lineup, he wasn't bad. 23-11, even though this was considered a down season. But I can't be surprised about him and his ability to stay healthy. He missed half of the 18-19 season. He missed half of the 18-19 season. A scratch from the New Orleans Pelicans. He got hurt in the 19-20 season when they made the playoffs and won the NBA championship. He got hurt last year. So going forward, I have to believe that this is who Anthony Davis is. You'll be lucky to get 60, 65 games out of him and hope that he holds up. I'm asking for a lot to say 65 games. Well, that's why I'm saying that you're going to be lucky to get 60 to 65 games out of him. And hope that he holds up in the playoffs. James being the scorer that he is, it was to no avail because all of the other stuff got highlighted, which is him defensively, that team defensively. I can't believe that Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan on the same team, you're one of the worst rebounding teams in the game. That is nuts to me. That is flabbergasting to me, to have a team that's that has that good of a rebounding core, that you, even if they're old, even if they're past their prime, to still not be able to at least compete in the rebound department. And they were at the bottom of the league at that. And I did not I did not understand that. I think a lot of that had to do with motivation. I was very disappointed in this Laker team. Very disappointed. And I'm looking at this unit, and it's just telling me that this is more evidence for me that you can't just throw a unit together and expect it to work. I mean, I heard a lot of chatter about, we could have had DeMar DeRozan. When I say we, I mean there was chatter from the Lakers brass. You know, we could have had DeMar DeRozan. We could have had Buddy Hield. Well, you under the impression that DeMar DeRozan would have done the same thing in Los Angeles that he did in Chicago. I'm having a difficult time thinking that DeMar DeRozan would have averaged 28 a game on that Laker team. As dysfunctional as they are now, take Russ out the equation and put DeMar DeRozan in that. I'm having a difficult time thinking that he would have averaged 28 a game, because James is still a scoring threat. Not just a scoring threat. He's still one of the three best scorers in the game. Still. And this isn't a situation where he had to do that. He did it. This isn't a situation where he had to do it like he did in years past. He was doing it because I could still score. But then it became, now it's urgent that I got to score, because now nobody else is doing it. Russ isn't efficient. Russ isn't doing anything. We have nobody on the box because Anthony Davis is out of the lineup. So I have to score. Right? I have to score. Now I'm looking at, if DeMar DeRozan was on the team, how much better would they have been? Well, DeMar DeRozan works for what they're doing in Chicago because they give him the ball. Zach LaVine plays off him. So when I look at that Chicago unit, Vooch plays off him. Zach LaVine plays off him. He's the focal point in that offense. Would he have been the focal point in the offense in Los Angeles? I don't think so. With James being dominant with the ball and Anthony Davis? I don't think so. I think that it would have been really difficult to believe. It's really difficult for me to believe that that unit with DeMar DeRozan and Anthony Davis, DeMar DeRozan would have been doing what he's doing. It would have been really difficult for me to believe that. So I'm having a difficult time with the Buddy Hield signing. Well, I mean, Wayne Ellington is a knockdown long ball shooter, only except he wasn't knocking down the long ball, right? He wasn't knocking down the long ball. So because he wasn't knocking down the long ball, he basically shot himself out of the lineup. Nunn got hurt, because Nunn is also a solid three-point shooter. He got hurt. So had he been healthy, health was a big issue for the Lakers this season. It was a huge issue for the Lakers this season. And it comes to no surprise about Anthony Davis, because like I said, I think that he is who he is at this point, and I think you'll be lucky to get 60 games out of him going forward. I'll be surprised to see Anthony Davis play an 82-game season, 82 games. I'll be very surprised to see that. I was very disappointed in this Laker team, man, and seeing what I saw with these guys. I just expected so much more from them. Even though they were old, even though that they were an older team, I've seen in the past, older teams are the teams that win the NBA championship. Older teams are the teams that are the most successful. These are the most successful teams in the game, the older teams. Now, there's a difference between old teams and older teams. Now, the Lakers had an old team. So what does that mean? Does that mean that they had guys past their prime? More than likely, yes. Carmelo was past his prime. James was coming into the season. He still was an elite player, but he wasn't James from 5 years ago. And Anthony Davis was going to be the guy expected to take the mantle. And we were going to play through him. And this is evidence of why this thing fell apart, because Anthony Davis fell apart. So going forward, we can't build our unit around a brittle guy. Can we do that? Can we do that? That's going to be tough. So I'm really disappointed in what I saw with this Laker team this season, and I really don't have much else to say about it, man. I'm really disappointed in them, and I was absolutely wrong about what I thought they were gonna be. So, but the playoffs are coming up, and I'm really excited about that. So we'll talk about that more later. But until then, take it light, but take it.